Welcome back to the Roy Rundown. We have another game-changing college athlete joining us, known for her tenacity on the court and her dedication to the game, a leader for a top 25 team, a standout guard for the Iowa Hawkeyes women's basketball team, Sydney Affolter. Sydney, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Of course, we're excited to dive into all things basketball, some NIL stuff, some future aspirations. But I guess I'll give you a minute here to share with the audience maybe just your upbringing and how you got involved with the game of basketball and what your family was like growing up, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, I grew up in Chicago. I have one older brother, and both my parents, we just a family of four. And growing up with an older brother, I mean, he was always so hard on me, but I wanted to be just like him. Like, we would always compete in literally everything that we did, whether it was basketball or board games or playing outside, literally anything. Um, But yeah, my dad was my coach since I was a little girl, and the first team and practices I was on was my brother's team. So I was the only girl on the team, and the guys probably didn't like that too much, but I thought it was fun. Um, yeah, so I remember that, just hanging out with all my brother's friends, wanted to be a part of anything that he did. And um, yeah, my dad coached us both. We would always go and work out together, and my mom was our biggest cheerleader. She's awesome, and she's literally the same person as me off the court. On the court, maybe a little different. But yeah, my dad played basketball in college, and he knows the game really well. So having him and me and my brother's corner was super important. And my brother went on to play basketball at St. Ambrose, and now I'm here playing at Iowa. So
Love it. The sibling competition is necessary and definitely advances you in the sport earlier than people can anticipate. That's great. And so, at what point did you realize you were pretty good? Like, I think there's kind of one point you're like, all right, I'm pretty good. And then there's probably another point where you're like, okay, I can play at the next level. Like, do you remember that distinct moment?
yeah, I think honestly it was like eighth grade playing AAU. I remember the first college coach to really recognize me was Doug Bruno, and he was really good friends with my high school coach at Marist, and it's Marist is in the south side of Chicago, and they grew up knowing each other, and Doug Bruno had talked about me a lot to Coach Connolly. So then I was like, oh, like that's really cool, whatever. Like I've always dreamed of doing that. So that was kind of a moment for me. And I remember that being at one of our AAU tournaments. So that was a really exciting moment.
So early, so eighth grade, and then obviously getting into high school. I believe you scored 1,000 points. So what early junior year, right? So that recruiting process probably started pretty early and continued. But can you walk me through that process? I think, I mean, I probably it would probably take me 5 minutes to list the schools that offered you that you chose Iowa over. But what was that like? What was that recruiting process like? What were you looking for to school? What eventually attracted you to choose Iowa?
Yeah, the recruiting process was super fun, but it was also a lot of pressure for a freshman, you know, figuring out what my schedule was and going to homecoming and just wanting to play basketball. And then, the recruiting process was definitely a lot, but obviously it was so cool. I wouldn't change it for the world. And I went on a decent amount of visits, which was really fun. It was mostly me and my dad, but my mom would also tag along sometimes as well. But just being so close to my family, staying close to home was kind of definitely something that I really wanted to make sure could happen. And I always was really interested in playing in the Big Ten. I thought that fit my style of play, and just how the guards work and play in the Big Ten was definitely something that I could see myself doing. So um, I kind of had my eye on that. And then I went to my first game here at Carver, and it was when Megan's jersey was getting retired, and it was like a sold out crowd, and it was so cool. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can totally see myself playing here. And just the way that the players interacted with the coaches, it really seemed like a family. So that was something that really stuck out to me.
Yeah, I can imagine. Obviously, we'll talk about fan support here in a second, but going into a sold out Carver was a no-brainer for you. Obviously, the fan support is one thing, but basketball and development is another thing. And so, did that play a big role? Like, coach recruiting you, or a couple of coaches recruiting you, and what was like the pitch to, obviously, have a great culture there, but ultimately get you better at basketball and prepare you for the next level.
Yeah, I got recruited by all the Iowa coaches. I talked to them a lot, but their main thing was like nothing was guaranteed. Like anyone could play over anyone at any given point, and nothing was going to be handed to you. And just hearing about all the workouts that they had, like we had to be here in June all the way till August, and our season doesn't start till late fall. And I'm like, like that's awesome. Like they're really getting after it, and that was something that definitely interested me. I love just working hard, getting in the gym. And then also knowing that player development is kind of a new thing going on, and hearing more and more about that was something that I was definitely interested in, and just being able to get better one-on-one was super cool.
Great. And let's circle back to the fans here. So maybe you can reminisce on your freshman season and running out onto the floor for the first time. And I think I'm not sure if it's 2 or 3 seasons in a row, but it goes obviously back to when you were going on your visits that the tickets have been sold out, season tickets. So what was that feeling like running onto the court, seeing all the support from the community and the Hawkeye fans?
Yeah, it was so cool. I'd never seen anything like it. I think I pulled up to the game and people were already waiting outside of Carver before we were even getting there. So I was like, that was a really cool moment for me. And then just running out on the court to thousands and thousands of fans, I was just like so surprised, an 18-year-old girl, like just that's what I dreamed of. And I was so excited and blessed to be able to play on a team where fans support us the way that they do, and the way that women's sports is growing. The fan base really contributes to that.
And talk about, like, obviously people see the pictures and like the crowd and it's loud, but what about the interaction? I mean, how much does that fuel you girls, whether it's in the community or after the game? I think after the game last night, I saw some pictures and videos of you guys signing autographs and taking pictures. Like, how much does that impact the way that you actually play and impact wins?
Yeah, it's definitely such a big part, when it's a close game and we get to play at home, like we know we have that advantage because of how much our fans support us and how loud they get. Like it's so cool. And then just paying it back. Like we were all that little girl once too, like looking up to great players and wanting to be just like them, and just giving them belief and knowing that they can make it to this level too is really cool, and something that I never take for granted. I always take the time to interact with little girls that want to play basketball in the future, just fans in general that support us.
Great. And so let's shift topics a little bit here and let's talk about actual basketball, right? So you've had a wildly successful 4 years, or this is your fourth year. Obviously, a lot of success on the court. Can you talk a little bit about the Final Four experiences and then maybe some expectations for this year?
Yeah, the Final Four runs were incredible. Like that's what you dream of, and that's what your goal is at the start of the season. You want to make it all the way to the end. You want to play as many games as possible. And, you know, the group of girls that we had those 2 years was so special. And I was very grateful to be a part of it. And we made lots of memories along the way. Um, but yeah, more than anything, just the moments and memories that came from those runs were super cool. And, we always believed that we could do it in our circle. And maybe at the beginning of the season, others didn't, but we knew what we had. And that was something really cool that we could share together. Um, but yeah, this year it's definitely a totally different team. We graduated a lot of great seniors. So more than anything, we just want to have a lot of fun, make some memories, and obviously put the ball in the basket, get lots of wins. And I think our chemistry is coming along really great. And I'm excited about what this team can do. I know we have so much potential, so I'm really excited for that.
Speaking of putting the ball in the basket, obviously we talked about watching the game last night. Big win over Iowa State, and you having a great game, putting the ball in the basket a lot of times. Can you talk about your role a little bit? I mean, someone that comes onto campus and obviously contributed a little bit early on, but if you kind of look over the seasons, you've just gotten tremendously better season by season and played more minutes and impacted more. And leading into the senior season, obviously as a leader and someone who has the ball in her hands a lot of the time. So talk about that progression, because I think a lot of people sometimes will watch a game and, oh, okay, it happens overnight, but it obviously doesn't. So talk about that progression and how you developed into that type of player.
Yeah, I mean, my role this year is a lot different than last year. Maybe not so much different at the end of the season last year, but we had players like Caitlin and Gabby and Kate and Molly and Sharon, and that's a lot of shots, a lot of stats to go around that, that they took up, and as they should. Like, they're amazing players. They were the veterans of the team, and Caitlin always had the green light. So obviously graduating them, we need a lot more scoring from girls who maybe not have had the opportunities last year. And I think that's where my role changes a bit. I think I've always been like super gritty on defense and rebounding and all that, but on offense, just being really aggressive and knowing that I'm definitely one of the top scoring options on the team and always looking to score the ball or set my teammates up, is super important for this year.
Awesome. And so I'm sure we could talk basketball for the next couple hours, but let's shift topics again a little bit. And I want to get into the NIL conversation, because it's a reality of the college landscape. It's obviously changed the way that teams recruit, teams retain players. The transfer portal craziness. So I guess just your general feedback on like how NIL has changed the landscape and how it's affected either you or your team's success.
Yeah, I think NIL has changing college sports tremendously. I think year after year, it's just getting bigger and bigger. And whether universities or coaches or teams want that to happen, that's just a reality. And I think it's really cool for athletes, being able to make money off your name, image, and likeness is really something cool. And, just seeing people like wear your shirts and jerseys and have your name and number on it is really awesome. But um, I think it's really cool being able to engage with fans and in that way. And I think the way that they support us is awesome. And the way that it's going now, NIL is getting to be a bigger portion of the recruiting process and the transfer portal. So, we just got to keep sticking with it and competing with some of the best universities. And I think Iowa fans do an awesome job of that. So, yeah, it's really cool. And I'm lucky that I get to be at a university where NIL is something trending.
Definitely. And I think, speaking about your university, the fans support fully, right? And if you tie in the fans to NIL, like for the first time ever, right? The last 100 years, athletes worked hard and had an audience and had eyeballs, but never got a dollar. And so now it's a trickle down effect. And so I guess what I'm getting at is, can you speak to like, obviously we talked about Roy and the app and the opportunity for those fans to support directly. Can you talk a little bit about like some of the things you like about Roy, specifically like the app?
Yeah, I think Roy gives a lot of potential for us athletes to get direct support from our fans. As women's basketball players, we may not get as much as football or men's basketball. So I think it's really cool being able to have a fan base that can directly support us through Roy, and just being able to engage with fans. Like, that's something that is truly really important to us, and them getting to know us is really cool. So making those connections through Roy is I'm really excited about, and I think a lot of athletes will hopefully join as well.
Yeah, and that's just a topic that we want to highlight at Roy's is especially the difference between the trickle down effect from men's basketball, football, and then some women's sport is that it's not always the same, right? Collectives, there's nothing wrong with collectives. There's nothing wrong with corporate dollars. Nothing wrong with high end, boosters that have been supporting NIL so far. But a lot of fans out there want to support specific athletes, and so having a platform like Roy allows for that, and we truly believe that it allows for all of the crazy Hawkeye supportive fans can directly support women's basketball and not worry about where their dollars are going. So I guess last thing about the fans is I always love to hear stories. Like, do you have a specific story in mind? One of your favorite stories about interaction with the fan, whether it was in the community or after a game or before a game or during a game, just about the Hawkeye Nation.
Oh gosh, there's literally so many. Um, Probably one of my favorites was it was during our March Madness run last year, and we were playing at home, and these little girls came to the bench, and it was towards the end of the game. I was sitting on the bench, and we were up by a lot, so the game was over, and these little girls were like, Sydney, Sydney, and like trying to get my attention and run up and tap my shoulder, and the security guard runs up and it's like, no, 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 no. They're like, please, will you sign this? And it was during the middle of the game, and I was like, that is so funny. Like, they just ran past the security guard, and then I eventually ended up finding them after the game. But it was so funny. Like, they were relentless trying to get my attention or autograph or something.
The impact is real. I mean, a lot of people don't realize how, just a simple autograph. That's hilarious that it was actually in the game.
Yeah.
Um, Awesome. All right. Well, we've talked basketball, we've talked NIL. Let's shift gears here a little bit as we start to wrap up because as I mentioned, obviously everyone knows that Sydney's very good at basketball, right? But what about Sydney off the court? Do you first let's talk, aspirations. I think a lot of athletes want to play at the next level. Is that what you're looking to do? Are you hoping to continue playing after you graduate?
Yeah, I absolutely hope I get the chance to play afterwards. That's definitely been a goal of mine since I've been a little girl. So I hope that opportunity presents itself. But if not, I know I think basketball will be in my future, or just working in sports in general. So I'm also looking forward to that.
And that was the next topic. So, I think it's apparent that you can play at the next level and you will, but what about passions or hobbies outside of basketball? I know you like to cook. I know you mentioned cooking's in your family. I know you like to travel. So talk a little bit about those two things.
Yeah, growing up, just my mom and my grandma would cook a lot. And as I got older, I definitely took a lot of interest in that and just watching my mom and trying to learn from her. So I've definitely taken a lot from her in that realm of things, which is super fun. And then also just the way that we get to travel. We're so lucky here at Iowa that we get to fly to all these amazing places. And, we went overseas last summer to Italy and Croatia, and that was so cool. So I look forward to that in my future. I hope I get to travel to a lot more places.
All right, two follow-up questions is what is your go-to meal that you cook?
Oh, geez. Um, I would probably say just a pasta, like vodka pasta with chicken, or me and my boyfriend made this like creamy lemon pasta the other day that was really good. I don't know if I have a like go-to meal, but I definitely like pasta and I like salmon a lot too.
Awesome. And then the second follow-up question is, if you could visit a new place around the world tomorrow that you haven't been to, what's the first place that's on your list?
Ooh. I think I would go to Greece. I have some friends that studied abroad there, and I've heard nothing but great things and seen lots of cool and pretty pictures, so I'd love to visit there.
Highly recommend. I can give you some recommendations later. So
Oh,
awesome. All
awesome.
right. Well, one of the last questions here, if there's some young girls listening that want to be exactly where you are or want to follow your footsteps, what's some advice that you have for them?
Yeah, the biggest thing is just stay true to yourself and have fun. Basketball is such a big part of your life, but it's not your whole life. So always know that there's going to be ups and downs. It's a game, and you work so hard, like never give up, put in the work, do everything you can to be the best. Um, but never forget to have fun. You play the game because you love it and it brings you a lot of joy. So never lose that, but always work hard and stay true to yourself.
Great advice. Okay, and now I promise this is the last thing I have for you. It's called the Roy Rundown Rapid Fire. I'm gonna fire some questions at you, and you got to hit me with the first answer.
Okay.
Okay. All right. What's your favorite color?
Pink,
If you had to play a sport other than the one you're playing, what would it be?
volleyball.
If you could have a dream NIL deal, what's one of the first companies that comes to your mind?
Oh my gosh. Um, I would say either Jersey Mike's or like a clothing store like Princess Polly.
Two good ones. Two good ones right there. We might have to get them on the line for you. Who is the funniest person on the team?
Oh, I'd definitely say Jada.
If you could trade places with anyone in the world and live 1 year in their shoes, who's one of the first people that comes to mind?
Oh my gosh. Wow. I have no idea. Um, I don't know, going outside of the sports things,
Yeah, anyone.
maybe, oh gosh, maybe like a country singer like Megan Maroney. I like her a lot, but I can't sing, so I don't know if that would work out, but it'd be fun to see what she does.
That's a good one. What is one of your biggest strengths?
I'd say just confidence in myself and what I bring to the table.
Who is one of the first people to really believe in you?
My dad and my mom.
What's one of your biggest fears?
Mm, I mean, a small fear is spiders. I really hate spiders. Um, yeah, I would say that.
And last one, what's one piece of advice that you wish you can give your younger self if you can go back in time?
Oh gosh. Um, Probably all the people around me that helped me get to this point were they truly believed in me and were just trying to give me my best shot and get me better every day. I think when I was little, it was hard for me to appreciate that because I wanted to, go hang out with my friends or go to birthday parties or do what everyone else was doing at that age. But, having people in my corner that truly believed in me and knew that if I put in the work that I could get to where I'm at now. Um, just appreciating them and thanking them.
That's great. Yeah, in hindsight, it's easy to understand, all the things you have to sacrifice, but during the moment, it's not so easy. So, well, look, this was awesome. We appreciate your time. Thanks for coming on here. We're big fans of you over here at Roy, and we're excited to watch the rest of the season and see all the success that's coming your way, and hopefully we'll see you in Hawkeye Arena soon.
Yep, sounds good. Thank you.
Thanks, Sydney.